Okay. Earlier today, I got to see District 9. I can safely say, based off the trailer, my wife didn't want to go see it. Saw with a buddy of mine, his wife also didn't want to go see it. And it seemed like it was going to have a lot more, horror and suspense elements to it from the way, the trailer was kind of laid out. And that kind of like, Cloverfield, Blair Witch style. But actually, there's an awful lot of drama in this movie. And surprisingly, it's, for there being no-name actors being set in Johannesburg, for all locations, and having to deal with, essentially an alien slum, there's lots of very good acting. The main human lead delivers a very good performance. As well as, like the main alien lead. It's a very good performance. I mean, you actually do begin to empathize with some of the characters. But the problem is you really can't go into that much in the way of, plot details without giving away a lot of the movie. But, if you've pretty much seen the trailer, you kind of have a pretty good idea. There was an alien spaceship that landed over Johannesburg. I guess you can say floated because it's actually fully land. It's been there for about 20 years. By the time we finally broke into it after a couple of months, found a bunch of aliens who pretty much were all malnourished. They were starving, took them as refugees, and then for about 20 years they've kind of, had a slum. Because they're not the intelligent aliens, they're just the workers. Advanced technology, advanced weaponry, but we can't use it because it's genetically coded to them. So there's all this really interesting stuff, but humans can't use it. Then comes the decision of moving them from their slums to another area. Essentially just transporting all of them from one location out of Johannesburg to someplace else. That's really the crux of the movie without being able to give, a lot of the plot away, and it's filmed somewhat documentary style. You're introduced to, the main character as he's being videotaped as we're doing like a documentary on how they're going to go into the area, extract the aliens, they're evicting them. How they're going to evict the aliens and transfer them to the new area. It doesn't sound like there's lots of excitement to it, but like anything, if you're trying to take people from the area they think is their home and put them someplace else, essentially do a different style of encampment, the military does get involved because people tend to not want to just uproot and go someplace else. So, very good. I'll say this is kind of like the Pan's Labyrinth of this year, where it had decent, underground buzz to it. There's not a lot of details about the movie that are easily accessible, and it's a very good, very powerful movie. I would safely say that this has by far been one of the best movies I've seen so far this year, easily. I'm going to go into some spoilers now, so to end this portion for the review, great movie, see it. You can take your, girlfriend to go see it. However, it does get very, very violent in some spots. Now I'm going to go into some of the spoilers, so if you don't want to hear anything specifically about the movie, this is the time you stop watching it. I got some time, it's okay. Okay, now we'll go into essentially one of the larger spoilers, which ends up being the basic plot of the whole movie. Okay. During the eviction process, the main male character, I forget his, I know if I try to pronounce his name, it's like Victor, I'm going to kind of ruin it. He has this little tube in his hand. He doesn't know what it is. It pops open and sprays some black stuff in his face. There's an altercation with some aliens. He goes back home. He thinks everything's fine. His arm's just kind of, beaten up from the, from the altercation they had. He starts, throwing up black stuff. He's having all these weird, sorts of problems. It ends up being, when they cut the bandage off his arm, he's becoming a prawn. He's becoming like one of the aliens. And, the government wants him because, like I said before, the weapons can only be used by someone with alien DNA. Here's a human who can fire these alien weapons. a lightning gun that makes people explode, and just, whenever you see something shot in this movie, either they explode or they get like blown to pieces. The alien stuff is that impressive. So he's being chased by the humans because all of a sudden we have all this tech laying around, we can finally use it. And so the aliens want him too, because that canister that he used, that's fuel. That's fuel for their spaceship. So they can take their control center, put it back into the mothership, fly the mothership off. He gets told, well, hey, you know what? We have the equipment to fix you. He's thinking, great, fantastic, I'll help you guys, we'll get this stuff back, and we'll be on our way. The guy who wants it, like the head alien, when they go to get it, they go to the MNU facility, where he finds out that a lot of his species are being taken apart and dissected. Well, he doesn't want that to happen. He knows that he has to fly his mothership back to their planet to get help, to get all the refugees off this planet. That's who tells the guy, we can have you back to being a full human in 3 years. So there's a guy trying to get back to his wife, trying to like, I can get all this stuff sorted out, we'll be fine, I'll be human again. In 3 years. Kind of ends, they show his wife, and his wife's got some little like weird trinket thing. She's like, I don't know if it's from him or not. It's like people say that it's just garbage, but I know it's his. And then they cut to someone, filming one of the aliens, and he's bending this piece of metal to make like little metal flowers. No other alien does that. And when you look at him, you see one of his arms. And it's the guy who was Victor, essentially waiting as a pawn for 3 years. Hopefully, because it ends with essentially him looking at the camera, knowing that he's got 3 years before he'll become a human again and be able to see his wife again. So that's like the drama part. And throw in that and lots of people exploding from a lightning cannon, and that is your movie. Again, excellent movie. Recommend seeing it.